2020, I think, has been a really chaotic year.
The year 2020 has been a rough year for teaching.
2020, at least for my lifetime, is extremely disruptive.
So when everything shut down, I actually lost my job for 2 months.
We were planning on losing somewhere between 7 to 10% of our monthly income.
It's been terrible, honestly, trying to get the kids to connect.
COVID put me in some spots where I had to do some searching about some deficiencies professionally from me.
There's a lot of depression, and there's a lot of people that need help.
It's probably one of the hardest years that we've faced.
My physical health was not good. I stopped exercising and I ate a lot of food.
I'm fearful of giving them something, and they're fearful of getting something, and we're all just staying away from each other, and then we have a mask that even covers our smile.
Isolation was very, very hard. I had to go on a lot more medication than I had been taking.
I went stir crazy for a while.
I miss handshakes, I miss hugs. We might say hey, but it's not the same.
I don't know if I can do this, you guys.
I think on the backside of this disruption, we're going to see a lot of fruit in ministry. I think as we look through church history and look through biblical history, disruption for God's people was always painful, but at the end, for those that remnant that was resilient and stuck with and trusting God and His sovereignty and faithfulness, on the backside of that disruption, the church always has shined. And so in the midst of what many believers and even unbelievers would say is the most difficult year, our economy's not doing so hot, things don't look great. My wife and I and our team at FCA, we just sit back in awe of God's faithfulness.
For me, at the beginning of the pandemic, I was looking at, I can't do all of these things, so I can't have this kind of relationship with God. He pointed out to me over the summer this verse in Jeremiah. It's Jeremiah 9:24. Let him who boasts boast in this, that he understands and knows me. God just through all of the lockdowns kind of just stripped away all of those distractions and said, no, you need to focus on your relationship with me. He's really taught me the discipline of silence and solitude, whether that be just sitting and doing a puzzle for 6 hours because I can't work, or going for a walk.
You see sometimes in the Old Testament where things get taken away from people and then really good things come out of that. That's sort of kind of how I've seen my life in 2020, where like these things have been removed from my life, but yet I see, man, that's really not how God intended me to live. Just work's been stressful. I mean, with COVID, I think that's everyone's work, right? I'm fortunate enough to work at a place where people love me. My pace is terrible. My pace in life's terrible. My pace in life is sprint as hard as I can for as fast as I can until I just collapse. I will go hard. I will outwork anybody. And people seem to really like that quality, and people always praise that quality, but it's not a healthy quality. And I would say I've learned a lot about pace in 2020.
So we were one of the few schools that started out totally remotely. Everybody else gave it a shot from the beginning. And I remember thinking, man, I'm jealous. I want to at least give it a shot. Over the screen, it's very, very hard to connect. It's kind of like you're just looking at a blank screen most times. A lot of them, they will not put their cameras on, so you cannot get any kind of feedback. A lot of them have terrible home lives, and so they don't want you to see what they're living in. They don't want you to hear the chaos that's going on behind that screen. So I understand why that it is the way it is, but it's very, very hard to connect with students. I have built a lot of relationships just one-on-one, setting up private Google Meets. So that's been a real big blessing if, I can get students to do that. I actually was involved in what was called the Dangerous Prayers group. I wouldn't have taken time out for that. I couldn't have taken time out for that. I know that sounds really terrible, but those ladies have become really good friends.
Normally, our schedules are booked. We kept ramping up in the fall with campus launching, with coaches, with camp in the summer, with the Danville Dans. All the things that we're involved in, it's actually given us space to rethink, to process, to be creative and flexible, to experiment, heading into what we hope and pray will be a more normal summer of 2021.
Being in healthcare, there's a lot of stress, and we didn't have downtime. We continued to work. I thought, why can't I get a break just for a month or so? We don't know exactly how it is transmitted, and there's so much unknown. That part was overwhelming. I knew that there was a chance that I could get COVID and bring that home. That worried me. And then I did get it. and unfortunately brought it home to my family. The 14-day quarantine was actually very traumatic for me. So even going for a walk, I had a mask in my pocket, and if I saw anybody on any block, I would turn and go the opposite way.
I had been going to Celebrate Recovery for only a couple of months. One of the awesome things that happened when everything shut down is that the CR leaders almost immediately reached out to everybody and made meaningful connection. Without the lockdown, it would have taken a lot more time to get to that point and to develop the more meaningful relationships.
2020 has pointed out that a lot of times I would like to blame other people for inefficiencies around me, and a lot of times I'm helping cause those. It's like one of those things when crisis hits and realness starts happening, you can embrace it and you can grow from that, or you can run the other direction. I was so lucky to have very loving men around me that helped me walk through some of those things, that pointed some of those things out, and have grace in that area.
We went remotely for all first quarter, and then we've been back for second quarter, and wow, what a difference just to have those kids walk through the door and be able to have that personal connection and be able to talk to them. Even if it's not all the kids, just having some of the kids back and being able to connect with them has been awesome.
Our commitments, our calendars my calendar was bulging at the seams. It became very clear about the second or third week of shelter in place that I had been missing out. I had dropped the ball really in some of my responsibilities as a husband and a parent. It can be difficult to balance responsibilities, but relearning how to be a good dad, good husband has been a part of this entire process with COVID.
Our whole lives turned upside down, and I don't think that there's anybody who would say that 2020 has been the best year of their lives, but I think that it's given us this common experience that when we look at each other, we see somebody who's struggling just like we are, and we know that everybody's struggling, so we start from that point, and I think that's made our community a lot more Christ-centered.
After having it, the ward where I work closed down, and I went to a COVID unit. Many of these people had not seen their family. I thought this was very overwhelming. But then I had a friend who said, "Are they allowing pastors on?" And I said, "No." She said, "What better place than for you to be?" I was thankful to be there because they needed somebody. And I did not fear getting it. And so I could sit and talk and caress, to actually be called to be the hands and feet of Jesus. I'm thankful for that.
I am thankful that God is in control.
You know, I would say I am thankful for the disruption.
What's been a huge blessing through all of this is I feel like I can cling to my faith and be that encourager to others that are just living in such fear that, you know what, God's got this, and I know it's hard and I know that it's rough, but He's in control and it's gonna be okay. And to not live in fear, but live by faith. And I think that's huge.
Just being thankful for things that I took for granted. There's so many things in life and my family that I took for granted before. Everything we get to do is like awesome. Instead of before, it was like we could never get enough and we could never do enough and never do enough. But now the small things and the simple things are just awesome to be thankful for.
For each day that I get, I'm thankful. It gives you a chance to love somebody, to be kind to someone, whether it's your own family or if it's a stranger. It's good to be thankful for the day, to appreciate the day, and to use it to the fullest.